Hey everybody, Corey here coming at you with not quite a knife review video. You'll see. This is fun. Different setup. You get to see my OBS. I desperately need a second monitor so I can see what's going on here because when I take you onto this screen, I can't see my face even though I know it's down here right now. But today I thought it would be kind of cool to go through the knives that were revealed at SHOT Show for Wii and Civivi. For those of you who don't know, Civivi is the kind of child company to Wii. It's the budget knife lineup of the Wii knife company. And sometimes they literally do, like, there's a Wii banter and a Civivi banter. And they're basically just made of different materials. Wii typically has the higher quality materials. And by typically, I mean all the time. That's the whole point. For the sake of this video, just something fun, I'll show you what I have with me today. This is my Damasteel Pena X Series Barlow. This has been my dedicated like desk knife, and honestly, it's a pretty good user. We're not going to get into that today, but I've been impressed by this knife, and I've been impressed by how well Damasteel actually hides scratches and kind of gives me the confidence to use a knife that I wouldn't normally use because I'm afraid that it's going to get scratched. Another video, another time. But yeah, so Knife Center, I hope you don't hate me. I'm not just going to copy paste your video. I'm going to use your footage to kind of introduce these knives as they come. And then I'm going to let the Civivi Wii representative kind of say what they want to say about them. And I'll just kind of leave it on a still as I talk about the knife because you can't actually go see these on the Civivi or Wii website just yet because they're just not up unless they are now, but they weren't yesterday. So I'm going to take a look, give my thoughts on some of these knives, and I think it'll be interesting. This isn't just duplicative because, respectfully, let's be honest. Knife Center, it's not that they can't be honest, but they're selling these knives, okay? Knife Center isn't going to look at any of these knives at SHOT Show and say, here's what I don't find that appealing about this knife. But I will. So here, let's go to the first knife. All right, I'm going to let the Civivi guy give his spiel, and we're going to see the first knife here.
With all these are prototypes for the debut, obviously, of SHOT Show 2026.
Yep.
So there could be material changes, price changes, everything. However, look how cute this is. This is the Purr.
As you said to me, it gets even cuter, too.
Look at the cutie cat guy.
All right, so I'm going to be honest. I did look at these knives before posting this video because I wanted to see if there were knives even worth talking about. Spoiler alert, I looked at the Benchmade video and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Microtech was kind of similar. This, on the other hand, so here's my thing. And I'm going to say this. This is a general overarching comment that I can make for Civivi and Wii. Civivi and Wii put me in a kind of strange position because quite frankly, sometimes I think they go for quantity over quality. Now, the build quality of Civivi and Wii is notoriously good, right? It's rare that you get a crappy knife. So in that regard, that's not what I mean from them. But what I am talking about is it feels like Wii and Civivi, they just crank out model after model after model after model. And when I'm talking about quality might suffer, I would rather see 4 knives all year that are all bangers than 200 knives, which is an exaggeration, but you get the point. 200 knives and they're all mediocre and you hope one of them is like lightning in a bottle, right? Civivi and Wii tend to do that. However, why I say I'm kind of stuck or I have this kind of weird feeling about Civivi and Wii when I make that comment is this. At the same time, Wii and Civivi, they try to push the boundaries. And if I'm being honest, most of the time, the stuff just doesn't resonate with me. But the knife industry needs the boundaries to be pushed. There is not enough innovation, new ideas, thoughtful designs in the knife industry. And you know what? If we and Civivi are big enough monsters to kind of push through that, and if they can suffer, whatever production losses might be associated with some of the knives that like totally flop, as much as I don't love that sometimes it feels like we and Civivi are just cranking out any little thing that they can think of, at the same time I appreciate them for it because they are trying, and they're trying stuff like this. Okay, look, and now we'll get into this knife. This is not my taste, not for a fraction of a second. But you know what? That's neat. Okay, it's neat. It has 2 flipper tabs. They're actually functional. They serve as the ears for the cat, right? And it actually, to be quite honest, if it wasn't for this thing right here that's supposed to look like the cat's nose and mouth, I might not even think twice about this. I would just think it was a kind of funky knife. And quite honestly, here's the crazy part. I wouldn't think anything of this knife if it wasn't for the cat theme. I would look at it and I would say, it would go into the bin of, that's interesting, that's different, but it just doesn't really resonate with me. All of a sudden, if I'm being quite honest, this knife has become perfect for that cat person in your life who might need a knife and they're just not knife people and they would never buy one of their own, but you want to go get them a knife that means something to them and resonates with them, right? And that's very niche. But is there another cat knife out there, right? And so this is one of those weird things where I'm like, this is not for me. And yet at the same time, I'm looking at this and I'm going, good for them. Honestly, good for them. I find it cool that they have 2 pivots in there, but wait, 2 pivot screws? Is one of those screws not even functional? I assume the blade is on a single pivot. That's interesting. I wonder if they added a second screw just for the sake of being the second eye of the cat. Because what would the pivot hinge on if there are 2 screws? It can hinge, I don't know, maybe there's something elaborate going on there. But yeah, I mean, quite frankly, this is cool. Not my taste, but 2 functional flipper tabs. One can be used as a front flipper. One can be used as a conventional flipper that serve as aesthetic choices that work with the theme of the knife. That is cat. That's cool to me.
So the Purr designed by Ostap Hell.
And now this is another reason why I say, here, let me get a good shot of this 1 second. Okay, here's a decent shot of it. Here's another reason why I say this is a decent knife for the random cat person in your life who isn't a knife person. It's small, right? You're not breaking any laws with this thing. It's unintimidating. It's cute. And it's actually functional. You can see the jimping goes far enough to be useful to someone who doesn't even know what jimping is. They're just going to accidentally end up using it. Reversible pocket clip. I mean, it's almost like it was built. It's perfect for a cat enthusiast who is intimidated by or just generally doesn't like knives, or maybe just doesn't have a knife of their own. I don't know. That's where I land with this one. And for the record, these are, again, prototypes. I think he said that at the beginning. He did just say that this would come in at approximately $58. Now, again, if you're not a knife person, that's like, oh my God, $58 for a tiny little pocket knife. But if you're a knife person, like I said, you're going to gift it to your cat buddy, right? All right, we're moving on to the next one. And I think this one's kind of interesting. I'll talk about why.
We have, this is the Nemain, and this is probably the lock type that everyone's going crazy for right now, that compression style top liner button.
So I find this interesting, this compression style top liner here. 1 second. Can we get a good, Jamie, pull that up. So when the Axis lock patent expired at Benchmade, everybody was very quick to just understand this is called a crossbar lock, and every other knife company came up with their own name, but you can describe it as a crossbar lock. I find it hilarious that everybody dances around the companies, not the people. You and me are just going to call this like a compression lock because it's what it is. But the Civivi guy in these other manufacturers who are now getting in on this, which I'm presuming it's like the Axis lock. I'm presuming like Spyderco had a patent on this design and it recently expired or something, and now it's everywhere because that's what happens. It's kind of hilarious watching these companies, and even the Civivi representative struggles with it, They don't want to call it a compression lock because the compression lock is a Spyderco lock, but they haven't come up with a good name for it yet. Anyhow, I think that's funny. For the record, I just call this a reverse liner lock. That's what I've always called the compression lock, but hey, here we go.
Liner button actuated thing. You guys don't have a name for what you're calling it yet, do
We're
you?
the no-name lock right now at this point in time. But yeah, this is a prototype that we're kind of dabbling in some of the compression-y locks or opposite frame lock, whatever you want to say, right? But super clean action, almost works very similar to a button lock, if you will, and that's what it feels like. And just snappy as.
Let's get a shot of that while it was open, right? I'll tell you one of the things that I like about this. Look at that blade stock. Now, depending on who you are, you're going to have different preferences. That's a thin blade. That is a thin blade. This knife is going to cut well, and this knife is going to carry well. That is a thin blade nestled between two thin aluminum handles. This thing is begging to be carried. It's going to be lightweight, but it's going to be a substantial cutter. Maybe not the knife that I jokingly say that you would go to the job site and cut bricks with. But I like what I see with this one, and I don't say that much with knives around this price.
That's what it feels like, and just snappy as can be.
Yeah.
Rocking the Nitro V blade, aluminum scandals on there, and
all right, Nitro V, aluminum handles. What else is he about to say?
very thin aluminum scales to have that type of lock as well.
You know, you guys do.
Okay, let's go back to where we were. Here, let me get a good shot of it. Okay, yeah. So quite frankly, this is what we need. I think this could be a great knife. I would have preferred maybe on this one a little bit more of a conventional blade shape. I think this swedge here, it's very edgy. I'm a little bit more concerned with being a cool knife than a functional knife. If this was like a typical full flat grind kind of drop point straight from the top, yes. Would it be a little less interesting? Yes. Is that outside of Civivi's alley to go kind of plain Jane? Yes. At the same time, I can just tell, I don't need to touch this thing. These wide chamfers at these edges combined with this almost like, it's not quite a choil, but this finger cut out in this blade, this long swooping handle, it's almost like it's trying to be a pistol grip, to be quite honest. But this thing is just going to be so comfortable. It's going to be so easy to carry. This is nice. This is actually nice. Is it the kind of thing that I'm going to buy? No, because I've got so many knives at this price range that it's like, you know, what am I going to do with it? But just looking at this, I don't care if it's a prototype. I don't really need to touch it or do anything with it. I can tell this is the kind of knife that I would recommend to someone. I love aluminum. I love aluminum. It is way lighter than stainless steel. Of course, it's technically less durable, but what the heck are you doing with your knife if you break the aluminum? Like, again, don't go drop a brick on it or something like that. But it's so cool. It's something different. It's something other than the usual G10, or a G10 with a carbon fiber laminate overlay or something like that. Aluminum does a really good job making a knife feel more prestigious than it might actually be, at least for its price point, right? But looking at this, looks like probably somewhere between 3.25 to 3.5 inch blade, very thin blade stock. You've got a thumb stud and a button lock if you're, you know, in the mood to fidget. You've got your lanyard hole. You've got what appear to be just fantastic ergos, light carry, thin profile. This is it. The only thing, in my opinion, holding this back, like en masse, is the edgy aesthetic. I think some people are going to look at this and be like, it's kind of maybe a little gas station-y. It could be way worse, right? But I do think they tried really hard to make this like super duper edgy and cool. And I think there's a lot of potential to refine this design, tone it down a little bit, but stick with this. I like the small details. I like the almost the checkering, the knurling on the button. It's those little things that matter. And when companies at this price can do that kind of stuff, it's good. It's good. Let me see if he talks about the price. All right, for the record, I guess because it was a prototype, I don't know, he didn't say the price, so we're gonna proceed.
All right, next up, we've got this vibrant looking guy right here.
Yeah, we got the Purr 15 Lite. So obviously the Purr 15 is a Wii model.
So this is an interesting one. I like I like what's going on here overall. I have a little bit of a qualm once we see the spine kind of profile of the knife here, but this is very sleek, if I may. Kind of gives me Lamborghini vibes. I'm not sure, maybe somewhere out there is a neon green Lamborghini. Neon green, little tacky for me, but this is the kind of color that, you know, people who aren't snobby like me tend to gravitate towards, or maybe not gravitate towards, but have a little bit more of a tolerance for. But overall, just looking at this, I like that the flipper tab kind of disappears into the design. It doesn't interfere. This is very cohesive. The angles here, it's almost symmetrical from tip to butt down here at the end of the handle. It's a pretty neutral grip, so it's probably not gonna blow your mind, but it's definitely not gonna be offensive. And it's so clear that if you had bigger hands, you could choke up here if you needed to. Let's get them to kind of flip it around and show you the spine.
Done by Raphael Brzezinski, but now Civivi with a nice kind of like very pointy, almost speary blade.
I love how tapered that blade.
Okay, so you're getting some of it here, and this is something that I immediately saw, and I was like, interesting. I think this knife, again, has more potential than what's going on here, and it's primarily because of the thickness that you're getting because of the scales and the liners. This is still a relatively thin blade, but if it was maybe just the scale, if it was me, what I would do here is I would inset the liners. Now, I'm not a knife production guy. I don't know if that pushes this out of the realm of profitability for Civivi if you were to inset the liners and mill out that G10. I don't know. But for me, it feels like there's a disconnect. It feels like the handle is thicker than it should be with how thin the blade is. It feels awkward to me having such a thin blade, but a thick handle, relatively thick handle, primarily because you don't just have the scale, you've got the scale, the liner, the blade, the other liner, the other scale, and it's like, it just became a little thick for me. Let's see if, I'll go see if there's anything else worth like pointing out here. Okay, so they just said it would be about $75 MSRP. You know what I could see here? What I could see, maybe toss in a button lock. I'm just looking for an excuse to give it aluminum scales. This is a, man, if you could get this thing all blacked out, murdered out with some black aluminum instead of the G10, and I don't know. In that way, you don't need the liners with the aluminum. You can just do the whole thing in aluminum, get a button lock in there. But yeah, for me, 75. It's very close. It's just not quite there for me to say, you know, this kind of falls in the category that I was talking about earlier of like, okay, you're cranking them out. Is it different from things you've done before? Sure. Is it exactly what the world needed right now? I mean, they can't all be bangers. I don't know what all of these screws are doing down here. I'm usually not too thrown off by that, but like, what are the 3 screws doing down here? But yeah, it would be interesting to see this thinner. I think this knife could have a lot of potential if the parent company, we made a premium version. This in like a titanium frame lock, murdered out, or with that black and bronze thing that we does, that could be really cool. In its current state, I'm pretty warm on this one. It's an for the practical blade. All right, moving on.
All right, then our next one that I wanted to kind of go over is this Vexaryn. So using the button lock, we have a aluminum scales.
Okay. Yum. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if it's the lighting. I don't think it is because I can see the kind of, so the blade is silver. The handle is almost like a tan or a beige. I don't know what that is. That's very nice. This is a very clean knife, and it's less edgy, pun intended, I guess, than the other knives that I've been seeing here. I almost wish this knife and the last knife could just have a baby and find some kind of in between. I feel like this down here is kind of begging for a little bit of a hot spot. I feel like it kind of throws off the geometry a little bit. I would almost have rather, like, you know, skip the lanyard hole, just keep it rounded. It looks like everything else is very sleek and sweeping, and then all of a sudden it's like gurk. There's like this blockiness down here. But overall, this is something that I'm really drawn to at a glance. Let's keep going.
Nitro V blade in the button lock, just, you know.
Civivi, what is this? Have these all been Nitro V? I feel like they're hanging on to Nitro V. Don't get me wrong. Nitro V is good. Okay, I'm not complaining about Nitro V. I find it interesting, though, that's like the Civivi thing right now.
Package.
And it's that standard plunge style button lock as opposed to what we looked at earlier, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
Yep. So just a brand new kind of in-house design. Got that finger hole, flipper tab, button lock, all the fidgety factor with it, deep carry pocket clip.
Feels good in the hand, certainly. Yeah, flipper tab works great. You guys do great button lock action, of course.
Yeah, I mean, you can see
Reverse.
Yeah, there you go. There's the reverse flick. Flipper tab, reverse flick, button lock. Let's be honest. Some of us love to fidget with our knives. This is a good looking desk knife. This is something that, like, I would feel comfortable. I'm a maniac. I'd feel comfortable keeping this on my desk at work. It's not that intimidating. It's relatively sterile. It's cool. It's fun. You can fidget with it. You can do work with it. It's not too intimidating. Did I already say that? Did I say that twice? It's not too intimidating.
Flick works really well, of course, too. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what more to say.
Yeah,
There you go. Let me skip to the part. Let's see how much this is. Okay, this is so funny because, like, this is an example of Knife Center can't say. I don't want to put words in Knife Center's mouth. I don't want Knife Center to come at me and be like, that's not what we meant. But, like, this is funny. Here, listen.
The realm of over knives.
It sort of gets into where I get into trouble with Civivi sometimes because all of your knives are, like, very good in exactly the same way.
Yeah.
We'll keep going.
So I run out of ways to talk about why it's good. But
that's kind of funny to me because I'm not going to put words in his mouth. I don't want to make assumptions, but, like, for me, this is one of the reasons that I stopped picking up Civivis is because, like, to some extent, in my brain, I'm like, these are all the same. Like, they're technically different, but they're the same. And it almost feels like that's what he's saying here, but he can't actually say that because, you know, it makes Civivi look like it's boring or repetitive or, you know. So I'm not going to put any words in his mouth, but I found that comment kind of funny. Okay, let's try to find that price. Okay, well, this has been fun. Sometimes they say the prices, sometimes they don't. I guess that's the beauty of prototypes. I will say I have feedback on this representative from Wii. He will go on later in the video to kind of inadequately describe some of the knives, and kind of he mixes up Wii and Civivi a couple times, which I find absolutely hilarious. I don't know if Wii had like a staff change. They used to have these two guys that were pretty engaged with their knives, but I think you can afford to kind of step it up with the knowledge and the presentation here. That's all I'll say. Okay, this is. I'll reserve judgment. We'll get it on the screen.
I wanted to show one more of the Civivis here on the back side.
This is the Brova.
The Brova, because this is probably the one.
This is like a prime example. God bless. We don't need it. We don't need it. We don't need any more of this in the world. It's such a standard G10. Sure, it's got a crossbar lock and a thumb stud and a flipper. But, like, this is the stuff that I don't like when we and Civivi put these things out. You know, maybe they don't have a knife that already has a crossbar lock and a flipper and a thumb stud. But, like, this is almost like if you close your eyes and someone says, think of a generic knife. When I say knife, what do you think of? Or when I say folding knife, what do you think of? This is like what pops into my head. Not because it's super unique, but because it's super generic. All right, let's keep going.
That attracted me the most in terms of what
I mean, same thing, other side.
I would like personally carry, the style of thing I sort of.
Boom. Okay. We'll skip to the price after my commentary. What's going on here, right? What's going on here? A very kind of tame swedge. It's kind of sweeping and flowing, so it's not like a boring vanilla drop point, but at the same time, it's not doing anything too crazy. Not really a full finger choil there. Just what is this knife doing that Civivi's other knives aren't doing or haven't already done? This one really feels like we had to fill another slot, and here it is. Let me try to find the price for you. So he did just say that it actually has aluminum liners. That's interesting. That's something. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to keep the weight down. Maybe it's a cost thing. I don't know. But aluminum liners have snuck in recently a few times now, and I find that interesting. All right, and once again, you don't get a price because that's why. I don't know why, but you're not getting a price for this one. Let's move on to the Wii lineup. All right, they're real excited about this. I have opinions, don't I always?
Start with this guy right here.
Oh, you guys got a sneak peek.
We got to start with this guy right here.
Okay, this is gonna be. I'm gonna try not to cut myself. This is brand new for
stand over here.
The 2026 lineup. This is kind of this is called the Shadowhook. Titanium's like scales with the titanium finger hole, pocket clip, all in general. But the fascinating part is going to be the lock. It is activated by this little button right here, and that pops out to where the whole entire kind of like blade housing pops out, and
It's wild.
this kind of pops back down, and then you're gonna fling it back up to where it locks. So, in theory, when it goes quick,
This is interesting. This is like a prime example. Look, I get it. Not everybody can just be the way that some of us are, right? Man, if you're Civivi, if you're gonna debut this new novel knife, like get your representative, like fluent in actuating the knife. Like if that's the whole gimmick, you can actuate it, and look at how it deploys. Ya dude better know how to actually deploy it.
it's gonna be ready for any self-defense.
And you've got that like inverted hawkbill blade there, that Pikal style for that self-defense stuff. Man, like
if you've hung around the knife community for any time, and I get this logic, you don't talk about knives in self-defense. Like we all know that they can be used for self-defense, but what is the joke? The winner of a knife fight, no, the loser of a knife fight dies in the street. The winner dies in the ambulance. Just don't get into a knife fight. But I guess have a karambit if you do. I don't know.
It's definitely getting used to it.
oh man, when people get the hang of this, like the closing action especially, I'm feeling is pretty good.
All right, let me get a close-up shot of this. Honestly, this is the best kind of full image that you can kind of get of this knife here. I'm gonna be honest, okay? This one falls in the category of I can appreciate what Wii tries to do. I can appreciate that Wii is trying to be different. I can appreciate they've got this whole unique lock kind of thing. Aside from the fact that I'm not a karambit guy, this for me, I'm just kind of like, respectfully, right? And people in the comments on this video were kind of giving it crap where they're like, that looks so awkward to open. Like you're talking about self-defense. You basically have to take a class on how to, successfully deploy this knife. That's not a great thing to have in a self-defense scenario. If this appeals to you, I'm very happy for you. For me, it feels like a weird fidget toy that is a suboptimal defense weapon. And quite honestly, I don't know a great way to describe this, but something about this just, it just feels kind of ugly to me. I'm sorry, I have to say it. This, like the frag pattern, I think it would have looked better if it just went to the entire end of the scales. And I don't know if that was like a milling thing or I don't know. It just feels strange to me. Titanium and all that good stuff. Let's see if will we get a price? Will we get a price? Let's find out. Confirmed. You get no price. Come on, guys. Moving on.
All right, show us some more normal stuff now.
Normal stuff. All right, we're getting into the Dresstac. This is a brand new design from.
All right, give me some of that. This. Ooh, this reminds me of something. I'll be right back. This handle actually very much reminds me of my CKF 520. Let me see. Are we there? Yeah, we're there. Very interesting. Very interesting. They're clearly not exactly the same. But that's kind of the first thing I thought of with the lines. Let's go back to it. All right, and we're back. So far, at a glance, I say classy. I like it. I do think this one is leaning more towards sterile and clean and classy and inoffensive. Excuse me. But just this. I don't hate it, but this feels very contrary to the rest of the knife. It gives it that almost like sleek, stabby, murdery, just a little pinch of that aesthetic on what is otherwise a very clean knife. I love the micro milling. I love this micro milling on the handle. I think it adds a lot of character. That is an example of something that the world needs more of. It's a little bit more expensive to do, I get it, but this is the kind of thing that's going to differentiate your knives. If that was a flat, non-milled, just titanium handle, for all intents and purposes, I would look at this knife and be like, titanium button lock, whatever, right? That gives it just enough interest, even when the whole thing is just a plain titanium, right? I like it.
Grind Tactical Knives, GTK. Very slim, just classic, almost like a gentleman carry.
I would say so. Yeah.
Button lock, running the M390 blade, titanium all the way around, and a really unique kind of like milling on the pocket clip as it kind of like tapers.
Oh yeah, that shape there.
The shape of the pocket clip.
Cool.
And then
an arrow-waisted thing. Yeah.
And then you want to talk about it, you don't want to show us. Keep going.
You got that micro milling on the handle itself. So obviously still running the ceramic cage ball bearings. Nice smaller blade. I think overall length is like 7.7. So literally your blade is like taking up maybe half of that, if that.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I like it. This is one where I say it has potential. At the same time, aside from the micro milling, I look at it and I say, is it really doing something different? But I would say if you didn't have a titanium button lock, high quality, right? This could be a legitimate contender. It's not something I would buy because it's not different enough to me as someone who's collected a lot of knives. But at a glance, I would have no qualms with someone choosing this knife. I think it looks like a good knife. They refer to it as thin a few times. I don't think it's particularly thin. It's not particularly thick, but it doesn't appear to be particularly thin. The blade is relatively thin, but I feel like these handles could be a little bit thinner if you're going to comment on how thin the knife is. It looks very average in terms of thickness. And that's perfectly fine. All right, we don't get a price for this one either. I don't know why. I'm assuming I'm going to go out on a limb and say that for these higher price knives, like we all know that we generally isn't going to be less than $200. My guess is that your average person, they don't want to throw that price out there because your average person who's not a knife person is going to hear that price and just walk away. Whereas if they don't talk about it, maybe you see something that you like and you go investigate and maybe you decide to pull the trigger on a whim because I don't know. I'm purely speculating. I find it odd that there's like no prices on these knives. Moving on.
We has done fixed blades before, but it's been a little bit.
Yeah.
This one we have the Notchline.
Yeah, most of your fixed blades come in under this.
I actually like this. You can tell, and you'll see, I'm not just speculating. It has a palm swell, but it's also three-dimensional. So it's not just on this axis. It's not just on the y-axis, but it's on the x-axis as well. And maybe I'm poorly describing that for the machinists and the engineers out there. This looks fantastic. This looks like a fantastic fixed blade EDC. It's relatively slender. You'll end up seeing it's relatively thick. It looks very comfortable. It has a unique handle material that is also comfortable, right? There's something here. There's something here. You get two spots for your jimping. So if you've got a conventional saber grip, you would use this one. If you end up choking up more, you would use this one. And I actually really like that for a knife like this because fixed blade, maybe some more outdoor use. Maybe you want some more control if you're whittling or something like that. This has a lot of potential because you're, like I said, we're going to flip it over. You'll see how thick it is. It is robust. It is actually robust, but it also manages to look sleek. I'm going to put this in the bin of you did a good job.
The Civivi line, typically.
Correct,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. Tell me about.
Oh, and they keep saying the Civivi line. I don't know why. Maybe I missed something. This is a knife. And especially the guy in this video, he keeps referring to it as a Civivi knife or the Civivi line. Maybe I'm missing something.
About the ergonomics of this knife, though, because that's what's really, like, the first thing that impressed me about this.
Yeah,
is how
so-
good it felt in the hand.
Let's go back. Let's look at that thickness. Oh, baby, look at that. She thick. Depending on what your preference is, here's what I would say. I don't support self-defense with a knife. If you're going to, I would use a fixed blade, not a folding karambit, for the record. It's thick. I wholeheartedly believe that unless you're going for some sort of specialized use, your fixed blades should be relatively thick. They can still cut, but by nature of a fixed blade, you're going to be just beating on it a little bit more, subjecting it to a little bit more abuse. This is good. And the blade is thick, but they didn't double down on the handles. The handles, yes, they're contoured. You've got the palm swell, but like when you look at the thinnest point of the handle, the individual handles are actually thinner than the blade stock. They were very intentional with this. This is a very carryable but still capable fixed blade.
Like, the first thing that impressed me about this is how good it felt in the hand.
This one right here, it feels really nice because it's nice and short, but you still have like your blade to handle ratio if this feels great in the hand. Jimping is in the great spots, and you're running just a nice, awesome fixed blade from the Civivi line. With a S35VM blade, obviously would come with its custom Kydex sheath, whether you're going to carry it in pocket.
He said Civivi again. What's up with that?
And or like reverse
On
carry
the
or
belt,
something like that.
yeah, it's kind of an interesting.
All right, we'll stop there. Let's go to the price. I could actually see myself picking that up just for giggles, even as someone who generally is more into folders. That's a very compelling fixed blade. Let's see if there's a price. All right, there was a lot of banter leading up to this, so I just skipped that, and we're gonna go straight to what they're talking about.
I got it. Anyway, this is the Inceptus M390 blade, titanium.
Okay, I know I cut him off. I'll talk about it here because it's about to change. What I see right now, very cool. It's very edgy, but it's different. I love whatever this is. Green shred CF or something. Looks like a toxic CF. I don't know. This is where we really shines. This is very cool. The profile is very cool. I love the jimping on the back. I love the holes here that, let's be honest, serve no purpose, but they're cool. The shape is different. Haven't seen a lot of things like this. Let's continue.
And then you have obviously the green carbon fiber inlay. Not
Green carbon fiber. Okay.
only on the scales.
On the back spacer there.
On the
too.
back space.
Okay. I'm letting him speak. How dare I? This is where you lose me. Respectfully. It's still cool. it's a cool novelty piece in my opinion, but this grind to me, by all means enlighten me. Leave a comment if I don't know what this is like really, really, really good for. If anything, to me, all I see is something that's annoying to sharpen and a little less than functional. I don't know. This is odd. The handle, I love it. It's interesting. It's unique. It's got a lot going on. And yes, I understand that this blade goes with the handle. And I'm not sure a blade that was rounded in some way would work or look like it makes sense anyways, right? You've got sharp edges on the handle. It makes sense that you've got sharp edges on the blade. But as soon as this opens, I go, oh, damn. It's like, it's just that knife that you whip out because it's cool, but it's not the knife that you would ever actually carry because you just wanted a really good knife. It's like a talking piece. Also, I find it odd, and who am I? I'm not an artist or anything. The one sweeping line on this knife is right up here at the top, and I feel like it harms the overall aesthetic. Every other line on this knife is a sharp line, and then this happens, and it just feels like it breaks the flow. I would have almost rather seen them lean into this and do something super sharp, like just cut it off from here to here, and the whole thing becomes this super edgy, I don't know, supercar or Cybertruck kind of knife. This, it just feels like an odd choice to me. So this is cool. They show on the backspacer that some of that green CF finds its way in. On average, do I care? No, not at all. Do we need more of this? Yes, it's different. Slipping an inlay into a backspacer, TPB approved. It's cool. It might not be functional, but it gives this knife something where you go, you know what? That knife has an inlay in its backspacer. When was the last time you saw that somewhere? It's at least cool for that. All right, so that was everything that they had to show. On average, right, a company as large as we and Civivi or whatever the actual parent company is, I would say that's a pretty good showing, a pretty good turnout as far as the interesting designs go, as far as something that I would say, yeah, that actually looks like a knife that I would recommend to people, or that actually looks like a knife that has features that I would be drawn to, right? I'm sure, especially in the Civivi lineup, I'm sure they're going to have more kind of like, okay, I guess, fine knives. But overall, I would say I'm happy. I'm happy with what Civivi is doing. I'm happy with what we is doing. Please keep innovating. Please keep pushing. I'm willing to occasionally drown in some mediocre, repetitive, unenthusiastic knife designs if that means that, you know, every now and then we're also going to get something where it's like, wow, that's different, that's cool, I like it, right? Even a knife that might not be for me, I can appreciate. You know, you go back to that Karambit, very not for me, but I look at it and I go, great. A new locking mechanism, a very polarizing design. I don't like the knife. I like that you made the knife though. So, guys, I hope you found this entertaining. I'm going to try not to make these go too long. Inevitably, I talk more than the Knife Center guys, so my video is going to be even longer than theirs. But yeah, let me know if you like this format. Let me know how you feel about this. Let me know if 45 minutes of your time is way too damn much and there's no way you'll ever watch this thing through and through. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time.